officer at Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Costa Rica. I have a doctorate in psychology, a master's in public health, and I've been working in healthcare over 30 years. I've been trained in the Western medical model, which has a lot of benefits and a lot of really good things, but also lacks in certain areas of processing trauma, resolving addiction, underlying causes, and actually fixing depression and anxiety. So in the West, we have a lot of different modalities and methods to treat this. Most of those are meds, and they involve talk therapy, sometimes inpatient psychiatric care or drug and alcohol rehabilitation. And those are very important things for a lot of people to prevent death, overdose, suicide, in general, chaos and insanity. So I'm not against any of those places. However, I am now informed after the last 8 years of working here and seeing 12,000 people come through our doors. I'm aware now of new, and not new to the world, but new to the West, some modalities that are really, really helpful and prepare you for a life of connection and a life where you can actually be happy and have success. So, when people hear about ayahuasca or hear about rythmia or hear about what we're doing down here in Costa Rica, it's often really interesting, the stories I hear about how people come across this information. And most of the people are going through life changes. They're going through feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling like they're going through, they have so much depression that they've tried everything and they don't know what else to do. Or they're, not depressed or anxious, but they're just trying to figure out their life and things are changed and they're trying to transition to the next phase of maybe not having kids at home anymore. They're all in college, or maybe there's things that have gone on that have made you unhappy. So rythmia tends to pop up in conversations on the internet, and it's like kind of like these little signs, and people talk about ayahuasca to somebody randomly at a party. You might hear this, or there's little like hints that you start to notice. And what we call those things is ayahuasca's calling you. That's what we say, because you're being open and you're being sort of led to a path that can help you change. It can help you get to really your core self. And once you make the decision to come to Rythmia, to participate in the plant medicine program, to do all the modalities that we have, which are breath work and meditation, yoga, all kinds of really cool stuff. Once you make that commitment, no matter if it's a week later you're supposed to come, or months later, or a year later, the medicine starts working on you right away. You start to have lucid dreams. You start to have physical sort of reactions. You start to feel as if the medicine is gently already working on you, which is really wild, because when I started hearing these kind of reports from guests that would show up, at first I was kind of like, well, that's just maybe your placebo or just your mind, and you're reading about it, and maybe you're just having these symptoms sort of, psychosomatically. I don't know. So I didn't really listen to it too much. But what I've come to see is that it's a pattern, and there's a lot happening for you once you make the commitment to change your life and to get on board with resolving trauma. So in order to prepare to come here, a lot of people feel the calling and call and book and come 3 days later. They get a flight and they're here. Most people don't have that sort of short little time thing, even though that's okay. Most people have at least a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple months before they actually come. And we recommend whatever works for your schedule. If you feel that you got to come now, then come now. But what happens in those days or months before coming is very important. It's important to prepare for this experience as best you can. You don't have to be perfect about it. You don't have to live a monk lifestyle. You have to be aware of certain things that are contraindicated with the plant medicine. Of course, our intake staff on the phones will tell you what those things are. But as far as medical related things, I'm talking about spiritual preparation. I'm talking about physical preparation. How do you prepare spiritually and physically? Well, we send you something called the dieta. And the dieta is a way of eating and a way of behaving that's a shamanic principle that matches the plant medicine in a way that can be most effective. People often ask me, well, what about smoking marijuana, prior to coming? Marijuana is not a contraindicated substance that is dangerous per se with ayahuasca. Again, every case is different. Every person is different. But what marijuana tends to do is it tends to, in some people, depending on how often they smoke or how frequently, is it blocks the experience for some. Now, some people have been smoking their whole lives, every day, and they drink ayahuasca and they have an amazing experience. So it's not black and white. But what you want to do, the way you want to think about this is cleaning yourself physically as best you can, detoxing yourself. Sometimes people do juice cleanses before. Again, you have to follow the recommendations of your doctor before you do any of this kind of stuff. And living a lifestyle that is healthy, healthy foods, stay away from junk food, stay away from alcohol, definitely don't do drugs. That's contraindicated. So there's also a spiritual way to live, which is spending time with yourself, having healthy relationships, avoiding conflicts that aren't absolutely necessary, and preparing yourself psychologically for what's going to happen, because you're going to really do a lot of work when you're here, and it's exhausting in a very fulfilling way. It's exhausting in the way that you've done a lot of work, and that's a fulfilling, a rewarding type of exhaustion. So I tell people it's 20 years of therapy in a week. And what is 20 years of therapy like? Well, I can tell you that the people that I've worked with in the past that I had for 5, 6, 7 years in my practice once a week, they did a lot of work after about 7 years. There was a lot they were doing. So if I was going to crunch that all into a week, that's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. There's a lot of emotions that are flowing. There's a lot of thoughts that are coming. There's a lot of clarity that comes. There's a lot of sadness that was never felt or processed at the time. There's a lot of happiness and joy that comes from realizing certain things that you were mistaken about from your childhood. It's a really incredible experience. So if you feel that you're called to come and participate in this program, just look around you and don't take for granted those signs that are happening, because those signs are the medicine in your soul, your spiritual self, getting you in line with this program so that you can have the maximum benefit, which is healing, connecting, empowering, and, to be honest, really fun, and connections with people that from all over the globe that are exciting and really unique. Thanks for listening. See you guys next week. Pura vida, Dr. Jeff from Costa Rica.